Welcome to Three Films and a Podcast, the show where Destiny brought together three friends to enhance each other's cinematic journey by watching three new movies in a series of themed rounds. There is no claim of ownership on any film footage used in this episode, as all film footage is owned in its entirety by the copyright holders. And just like every car in Too Fast, Too Furious, this podcast contains spoilers. Enjoy! Hello, everyone, and welcome to Three Films and a Podcast. My name is Ben Lawhorn, and I'm joined as always by Tyler Beck and Matt Weiler. What's up, guys?
Well, if it isn't my little buddy Beni.
Oh, boy. I was wondering who was going to say that.
That didn't take long.
I was like, God damn it. Someone's going to say this for sure. It's never a good sign when like the bad guy or one of the bad guys has your name. It's like, oh, all right. Well,
yeah, and he fucking suks. That really sucks for you.
That accent sucked. That mustache sucked. Like everything sucked about it.
Premium.
For those of you new to the show, welcome to the movie club. For those of you returning, welcome back to the movie club. Please spread the word. Let people know about us however you can. We are on all the socials at Three Films Pod, and you can subscribe to us on everywhere you find podcasts, and including YouTube, where you can just look at all of our beautiful faces. Speaking of beautiful faces, we have a wonderful guest with us here today, Mr. Ethan Simi. What's up, man? How's it going in Portland?
What's up? Life's good. I heated up my shed early today so I could wear a t-shirt, and I feel really good about it. Barbie 2023, nice. Let's go.
I like it.
And I'm feeling really good.
That's cool. Well, thank you for joining us. I'm going to pretend like I don't know what else you do. So do you want to plug any other podcasts that maybe you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I do another podcast. I'm not sure if you're aware of it, Ben. I know Matt and Tyler are clued in on this one. They're honed in.
It, yeah.
24 minutes of A24. I'm a co-host. I've got another host. Also goes by Beni. And so, we do 24 minutes of A24. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram. We're on YouTube as well. We tackle the A24 library 24 minutes at a time, which is a lie because it's never 24 minutes. We're talking about
once.
I think maybe once. Maybe. We're talking about all A24 things. So you can find us there and go listen to the pod.
Nice. I like it. Yeah, Tyler and Matt have told me about it, but take the recommendations with a grain of salt. Like, I don't know if I want to listen to that.
I would too. I don't know. Hit or miss.
Check it out. Yeah.
We'll see. So here we are. We're all gathered here as hosts of podcasts with worldwide fame. And as those hosts, with such like movie knowledge and everything, we often hear, you haven't seen that? Like, so often. I don't know how often you guys get it, but I get it a lot. Like
I get brutalized constantly.
I got it so much this weekend. Like it's like that's why I'm doing the podcast.
That's the whole point, Yeah, until like a month ago, I'd never even seen Titanic. I was like, you haven't seen that? Like, no, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like,
no, people come to me. I was like, why don't you start a podcast?
Yeah, exactly.
If you can do so many movies, why don't you start a podcast?
You do it.
100% agree.
I know you went through that recently, right? On TikTok, Ethan, where you like went over some movies and people are like, you haven't seen this by like Godard. So it's like, dude, chill out.
I did this like Letterboxd top 100 filter where like and like the game is like, oh, let's blind rank 5 movies. Like, I don't know what I'm getting next kind of a thing. And I did it a bunch of times, and I decided to post the one in which 4 out of the 5 movies were movies that I did not know, I had not heard of, with the intent of like, hey, look, someone in the world exists that hasn't seen these movies, but now they know about them. And now they can probably go see them and seek them out because of this cool filter. And now they know. I just got absolutely torn to shreds in my comments. I subtweeted somebody the night of, and I was just like, okay, like, let's freaking relax. Like, I had a back and forth with somebody for like literally 15 comments. And they were like, I can't believe you embarrassingly haven't seen this French movie from the 1970s. And it's like, I haven't, okay? I have kids, I run, I have a job, let's all chill out. So I take that very personally.
I'm going to be honest, when I heard that, Ethan, I tore all my A24 posters off my wall.
This guy's a fraud, he's a fraud.
That was your burner account, right, Matt? That was you writing to him? You haven't seen this? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, you didn't know it was me?
Yeah, you have a movie podcast, you haven't seen every movie ever? I mean, for anyone who knows, that's the premise of our entire podcast is like trying to watch stuff that we haven't seen before. And that's kind of where this round specifically came from. This is more along the lines of like pretty popular movies, you know, either well received or just like cult classics, something like that, that somehow just slipped through the cracks for us. So we decided to make it a round, and we decided to each pick 4 movies that we hear about that the most. I think mine included like Titanic, Godfather 2, Grease, and this one, The Mummy, and we put it out there and let the
Can't
movie
believe you
club
haven't
decide.
seen Grease.
I know. Hopefully I never have to, but
Oh my God.
So
I was so worried we were gonna have to for this round.
I know. I
God
didn't
damn it,
want
we're
to.
gonna have to watch Grease. I was so bummed.
I didn't want to do it. But yeah, so the people have spoken, and they chose the 1999 action adventure film starring the newest best lead actor Oscar winner, Mr. Brendan Fraser, and James Bond's better half, Rachel Weisz, just like tearing up the screen. They were fantastic. If you haven't seen the movie, like I hadn't, the tagline on IMDb says, at an archaeological dig in an ancient city of Hominoptera. I have no idea how to say that. An American serving in the French Foreign Legion accidentally awakens a mummy who begins to wreak havoc as he searches for the reincarnation of his long lost love. I mean, we'll talk about it, but like we watched the Tom Cruise version of this, and as the beginning of the movie was happening, it's like, have I seen this before? Like, yeah, I kind of have actually. Like, there's like so much like similarity in it. I was like, wait, have I seen the Mummy? But like, I hadn't seen this one, so this was a first time watch for me. I'm excited to get into it, but I'm gonna, as always, throw it to our guest first. Ethan, do you happen to remember when you saw this verse and how this is like?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was a young bloke when I saw this film.
Okay.
My parents were really like oversaw a lot of my life and like didn't let me see a lot of things for whatever reason. They let me see The Mummy.
Okay.
And let me tell you, as a young boy, probably 8, 10, or 12 years old, when you watch The Mummy, you have a sexual awakening. Let's just be honest, because there are a lot of things in this movie that are just very hot and very steamy.
Ethan's
and
pants shrunk 3 sizes that day.
Yes, the legend goes. And yeah, so I was a little boy. I remember watching this all the time. And actually, the craziest thing, I just FaceTimed my younger brother the other day, and without even mentioning, I was totally talking about a different movie. And I was like, yo, do you remember watching this movie? And he's like, oh yeah, and totally, we used to watch The Mummy all the time. And I was like, that's crazy that you would say that, because like we did, and I didn't even say that. So yeah, this unlocked a lot of childhood memories going back and watching this film. I just want to point out 2 things. This was Oscar nominated for Best Sound in 1999. It also absolutely raked up at the box office. This movie cost $80 million to make, and it killed it. It made $416 million at the box office.
Damn.
Absolutely astounding box office numbers. And I finished this movie the other night, and I just had a grand old time. I loved it. I laughed. I had a great time. I was on the edge of my seat. Incredibly terrible CGI that is just delightful to watch for some reason. And it finished, and my wife came out, and she's like, so, like, do you remember watching that movie? And I was like, you know what? They just don't make them like they used to. Like, that was just a blast. It was just fun. And I had so much fun watching this movie. So I appreciate you bringing me back, man. Bringing me back to my childhood.
You're welcome. Yeah, I feel like no matter how you identify and what your sexual preference is, this movie will spark a sexual awakening.
Everything.
Like, no matter what, like, it's got something for everybody.
It's got it all.
It's got something for everyone, without a doubt. On the note of sexual awakening, Matt, what was your thoughts on this movie?
Speaking of,
Well, I'm going to summarize my experience with the movie with a song.
Okay.
Come, my lady, come, my lady. You're my butterfly, sugar, mummy.
Side note, real quick, I saw a clip on Twitter
good.
of that dude. He's like still trying to like.
Oh, dude, I saw
do
that too.
Shows.
The Crazy
sad.
Town dude?
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, he was like in a record store or something, like rapping that song, and he sounds awful.
He's had a rough go,
sad.
man.
That's a
Yeah.
bummer.
that's too bad.
I felt bad for him.
Well, he's got someone that can fill in for him. We just heard that. So.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Still singing in the rain. We can put you behind the curtain and you can sing for him while he mouths the lyrics.
Yeah, I mean, this movie is one of the great adventures of the 90s. I was trying to think, like, what other, like, 90s adventures is like more well liked than this one.
Mhm.
A lot of the classics we call out are from like the 70s and 80s, but this one is like our generation's adventure movie.
Yeah.
The quintessential adventure movie. I don't know. Maybe I guess you guys right now can correct me, or someone in the comments can. But like I was having a hard time thinking of anything equivalent to this that came out around that time. But
Yeah, around that
this felt
time,
like
I have
it.
no idea. And obviously I missed it, but watching it, I was like, oh, I can see why this sparked some sequels. Cause like it's kind of like our generation's like indie, you know,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
just like, oh, cool. We're going on an adventure and
Yeah.
whatever else. But yeah, at the same time, I can't think of anything at that time that was the same.
And it got its right at Universal Studios. It had
Great ride.
the biggest star of its time in Brendan Fraser. It's crazy to think how huge he was.
Yeah.
Like
Unreal.
he was the guy.
Yeah.
His hair in this movie is immaculate.
Oh,
it's unbelievable.
Dude, everything
Just-
about
just-
him is
yeah,
immaculate.
seriously, his costume, just like everything he did. Yeah, it was perfect. You know, it's too bad Jake Gyllenhaal couldn't make Prince of Persia work, because I feel
Ooh.
like Brendan Fraser set the
Oh,
archetype
yeah.
for Jake Gyllenhaal to come in and just like kill it.
Yeah.
But I didn't see that, so I guess I don't know.
Now I just want to cross
that's
over
the
with
thing.
that movie and like John Carter. Give me Taylor Kitsch. Like, let's get all these guys together and send them
Yeah.
on an adventure. The three amigos. Let's send them on an adventure.
The Sandverse.
The
You know,
Sanford,
like,
yeah.
Universal Pictures in the 90s had it locked down.
Oh,
Lock,
for
shock,
sure.
and barrel. Like they knew exactly what they were putting out, and
It
they
was
knew how
theirs
to
to
make
lose.
money. And that's the thing with Prince of Persia. Like Disney, that's not their bag. Like they just don't know how to do that stuff.
Yeah.
So I think Universal was in the sweet spot, and it seems like Universal is kind of getting back to that sweet spot with like some really good releases as of late. But anyway, yeah, they had it figured out back then.
For sure. And I was watching this, and of course you mentioned the CGI, and like, yeah, not all of it holds up, but I was surprised at how much of it did for me hold up. Some of those practical effects, and so like specifically when those undead warriors start, coming up, like
Yeah.
I was surprised at how much of that like still worked for me in comparison to the time. I was surprised by that, but yeah, I loved this movie when it came out. I had a lot of fun with it again. I wouldn't say I was as big of a mummy boy as it sounds like Ethan was, but
The Mummy's
definitely
boy.
I'm a classic mummy boy here.
Classic Mummy's boy, Ethan.
But I mean, I was there for Brendan Fraser for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I say real quick, like when I was watching this movie, I was like, we need to build more practical sets. There's a scene in this movie where they run away from Hamunaptra and like it's all crumbling down. Like 95% of that is a practical set. It's just like things are toppling and it feels good. Like it just like feels really good in your bones to be like, that's happening. And like they CGI a bunch of sand and stuff, and like that's noticeable when that happens. But for them to make all of these practical sets like set in Egypt and all these towns and cities and stuff, and it only cost them $80 million is kind of astounding. And I want more movies to be like this movie going forward. I just want them to feel better. I want them to feel more real. I really appreciated that about this movie.
Well, yeah, and apparently they built like an entire port, the port that we see when they set off in the boat. They built that all up and then did CGI for the background, right?
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
the pyramids you see in the background. But yeah, they somewhere in England, I was reading in the IMDb trivia that they built up that whole port town practically.
That's sweet.
Yeah, speaking of the CGI, like it's noticeably bad, but in some ways I felt like it perfectly matched like the aesthetic of the movie still.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like bad and then it jumped out, like not to pick on anything or not to pick on Star Wars, but like there's times in like
Whoa.
like those older sci-fi movies where you can see like a little square around the thing flying
Yeah.
across the screen. You know, it's like it makes
Or
it
like
really stand
Scorpion
out. It
King,
doesn't-
if we want to keep it to the Mummy, like whenever we see the
Yeah,
Rock.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the times where the CGI was bad, in my opinion, like still matched the aesthetic of this movie. So
Yeah.
it like wasn't distracting to me. But yeah, I had never seen this before. So this was a first watch for me. I just watched it tonight.
Oh, cool.
I
nice.
I don't know why I never saw this. I think it was like my young stubbornness. Like everyone else loved it, and I was like, well, I don't want to watch it because I'm different. I'm cool.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure like my sister really loved it, and so I was like, well, that's her thing, and I have my things, and and
surprised you wouldn't even sneak into it, man. Like,
yeah, right.
You're like, yeah, I'll stick with Encino.
It was a little before my time.
Thanks.
I'll go sneak into Master of Disguise, but I'm not sneaking into The Mummy.
Trust me, if this had been on screens in 2001 to 2003,
yeah, you
would have been right in my wheelhouse. But yeah, man, it's funny. Like watching this movie, I knew exactly what to expect, and that didn't hurt or help the movie at all. It was like, yep, this is exactly what I was hoping for, exactly what I thought I would get. And the thing that actually surprised me, and this is even funny for me to think about, so it might sound weird, but I was like genuinely surprised how good Brendan Fraser was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know we all love him, and I love him too. I've seen most of his other movies, except for like The Whale and probably a few other things. But he was like, I thought he was surprisingly good as an action star.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, because he's a big dude, and he's obviously handsome, and he can do the whole swashbuckling thing, and he pulled off all the action to me. I thought he was going to be, I guess I pictured him as like too soft, right? Like too much of a, like too pretty boy, too soft. Cause he is such a nice dude. It's such a warm presence, but it worked for me, man. I was into it. I could see why Ethan was, his stream of conscious was.
Dude, let me tell you, even last night, I paused it and I showed Molly and I was like, Molly, right here. This is why. And she goes, oh, I get it. And it's like, fuck yeah, you get it. Absolutely. We all get it.
What do you mean you get it? Of course you get it.
Yeah.
Of course.
Get out.
Alex's brother was in town this weekend and he loves The Mummy. That's why I was saying, that's why I got, you haven't seen this so hard. Because he found out I hadn't watched this and I started telling him about the other movies and you haven't seen that. And he hasn't seen that and he hasn't seen this. And I was like, yeah, dude, it's the whole fucking point. But anyways.
That's why we're
here. He like couldn't help himself. So we watched the first little bit of it, and we had to stop because we were just chatting and having too much fun. I was like, I actually want to watch this, so like I need to like not watch this while we're whatever. But as soon as Rachel Weisz stepped on the screen, he's just like, she's so hot, and I could tell that was like 15-year-old Mac speaking to me,
coming to life, resurrected.
Like, okay. I was like. It's like, yeah, this does something for everyone, You got Brendan, you got Rachel, even like the even Imhotep, like I could see,
like,
who was the main guard dude? Like that was in all the black, like it's a handsome dude, with his little
he's red,
whatever,
and it's the heat of the desert too. Like just knowing everybody is sweating and like hot, it's just like it's like, oh, okay, I guess I feel the same way.
Yeah,
we're all feeling it,
and it made me realize I just really like Egypt movies, like Egypt.
Yes, thank you.
Mythology movies.
Yes.
I didn't really know that about myself. I was like, this is dope. Like,
am I an Egypt guy?
I'm an Egypt guy. It's kind of made me wish. I was like, man, I wish we had like a Game of Thrones set in Egypt.
Oh, damn.
I literally wrote in my notes, we need more movies set in Egypt. I literally, Tyler, we're Egypt guys.
I love it.
My guy.
Look at you guys. Yeah, I mean, I had a good time with this movie. A lot of we'll talk about a movie and I'll often say like, I'm glad I waited. Like this was the right time for me to see it. Like I probably wouldn't have liked it back then. But I do wish I had seen this back then. Cause it's like, it's fun. You know what I mean? Like it's goofy. I like the practical effects. Like even the gag of like all the bookcases, like that was done for real. We got like a spinning shot of it all happening at once. Like, oh, that's like kind of cool. And I feel like a movie now would have like even just like CGI'd in the books or something, to make it easier to reset. But this one was just like, nope, we're going to do it. We're going to get it in one take. And it's like, yeah, it was actually kind of cool. And it's just like a small thing like that that's done practically that makes the difference.
I read in the trivia that scene took an entire day to set up, and they shot it once, and they were like, if we don't get this, we lose an entire day of shooting. 2 days.
I believe it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's a lot of pressure.
It helps, Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And that stuff adds to it. So I like that. Brendan was great. During the recent Oscars run, he did a sit down with Adam Sandler. And I remember even Adam Sandler saying that he was shocked that he got The Mummy. Like, from like Airheads, like Brendan's doing like an action movie, like he was kind of surprised by it. So I think it's fair to say like we were all just like, oh, that dude's doing it. Okay, cool. Like, but he was great. He was just funny enough. Like I was worried. I know you talked about him being soft and kind of similarly, but I was worried they're going to make him too goofy or something, just like really play into the humor side of it. And he was still humorous. Like he still had a lot of funny stuff in there, but I believed him as who he was, as that character, as like kind of a badass dude. So, yeah, I don't know. I had a good time with it. It was just, it's fun, and that's all it really needs to be, a 90s action adventure movie. Like, let's just have a good time. He was fun to watch, and Rachel Weisz is obviously always great. The CGI, it's weird how hit or miss it was for me, because they were like one of the first times we see all the scarabs. I'm like, oh, that's like awful. But then like the last time when they come to get Beni, it's like, that looks legit. Like to me anyways, it's like, oh, that looks like, do they really release all these things in there? Cause like that looks like insane. So it's kind of interesting to see how much, worked and didn't work, but overall it fit the tone of what we were doing here. It's just like, yeah, it doesn't need to be perfect. It's a fun movie.
And at least for me, like it felt perfect in the fact that like just enough of their motivation is pretty incoherent where you just like kind of go along with it, right? Like Beni's there for treasure and we know that, and like so is John Hannah's character Jonathan, and like they're there for treasure, and like we know that Rachel Weisz is like an Egyptologist and like she digs that stuff, but like Brendan Fraser's just there to like prove that it exists. Like he's just there to like prove to himself, right? And like I at least like that's what I got out of it, and it's like just enough for you to be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like you go do your thing, and like we're along for the ride. And like I think a lot of modern day adventures struggle from like trying to be too clear and too plain about like this person has to go to the land of the undead because their mother's aunt was like possessed, and it's like, nobody really cares. Like, let's just go and like let's just have a fun time. And that this movie does it right.
Yeah. I think it's a really good call.
I feel like it's like we don't need anything more than like he just wants to get out of prison. So like, yeah, sure, I'll show you this place. Get me out of
that's
prison.
true.
You know what I mean, like
that's true.
That's pretty simple. And speaking of, do you know he almost died on the hanging scene?
No, really?
It's crazy.
Like, apparently he stopped breathing and had to be resuscitated. Take it for what it's worth from IMDb trivia, but that's fucking bananas. And one time where I might advocate for CGI over practical. Like
it was intense. Yeah, it was crazy to watch that.
Wow.
Yeah, I honestly couldn't believe they showed it. I was genuinely shocked.
Yeah, because even if it is set up like like to brace them and protect them and stuff, that was still like the legit like 10-foot fall, and we just like watched it all happen. It's like normally we cut to like underneath the stage or whatever and see the legs come down, but like no, we're just gonna watch them.
Well, they did so much like shadow play in this too, where they're showing like the violence in the shadows. It's interesting that they showed the hanging. I guess it didn't kill him, but like still
shocking stuff.
So good.
Yeah, kind of intense. All right, we've all talked about our initial thoughts on this movie, but I want to talk about if we run into someone like me who hasn't seen this before, how would you convince them to see it? We call this our elevator pitch. In theory, it is what it is. It's what it sounds like. You're in an elevator with someone. You've got a couple of minutes to show them a scene, to sell them on what we're watching. What would that be? And Matt, I'm going to throw it to you first. What's your elevator pitch for The Mummy?
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
I mean, one of the most famous scenes in Indiana Jones is where the guy like pulls out, I don't know if he's got like knives or whatever, and Indy just pulls out a gun and shoots him. To me, this isn't the equivalent. This does not hold a candle to that scene, but the second I saw Brendan Fraser huck a chair at Beni and just like shatter the chair on Beni, I was like, okay, this is my scene. And honestly, I would just like,
I guessed it.
You guessed
Did
it?
You? Nice.
Like, I would start it and stop it right there. Because I mean, the rest of the scene's great. Yeah, the rest of the scene's great. He's holding it up to the fan. He's beating up Beni, but like just give me the chair toss. I'm like, okay, this is the type of movie you're getting.
Yeah.
The moment I saw that, I was like, that's Matt's pick. I know it's Matt's pick.
I love it. That's awesome. What's your pick, Tyler?
Like I feel really weird about my pick. I don't know why. I was like, there was a lot of scenes I liked, but I wouldn't want to spoil any of them for someone if they hadn't seen it. Yeah. Just because the movie's so fun. There's so many cool, fun scenes. All the set pieces are really it's just fun. And I wouldn't want to spoil that for someone. So I picked the scene where the Imhotep is waking up and they're all running away. The guy drops his glasses. The classic, like, help me find my glasses. And someone steps on him.
Guy was so screwed.
And I really like that scene because you get like the tension of hearing the mummy waking up. You don't see the mummy. He's a sort of a throwaway character, right? Like, he doesn't really matter. And I liked what they were doing with the camera in that scene. How it was a simple move, but they were going from what seemed to be his point of view with like a blurry background, but then the camera would pull back and it would be third person view. So they were like, I really liked the way they were going from third to first person. I thought they were doing some like interesting camera stuff there. Yeah. And there was some good tension, a little bit of horror. Like, I don't know. I think it would be cool to show someone like, but you know, they made this movie thoughtfully. They're trying to make something interesting and cool and fun. And you would want to know like what happens, right? Like you'd cut right when it cuts that scene, cut to black, and then, you know, send them on their way. So that's what I picked. It's not my favorite scene, but I just was like, this movie's too fun to spoil anything, you know? So we're going to go with that.
I think for that scene in particular, I know this movie is like really fun and pretty surface level, but I think that's the one scene where you could pick it apart and it would be really beneficial to show somebody, because it is, and I read a sentence about this on someone's Letterboxd review. Like, it is the perfect representation of how this movie's core theme is driven by short-sightedness, right? Of like, every single character can only see what they want to see. They're only going, they're only adventuring, and they're only pursuing this so they can essentially resolve exactly what they individually want. And it's not for a greater good or anything like that. So it's very, telling that like his glasses get smashed, his eyes come out. Like, that is the moral of what we're doing here. And like, shout out that guy for his scene later on where he does get like, Beni and like Imhotep come back and he's like trying to talk with no tongue. Yeah. Just like, this guy like is acting way above what he needs to be doing right now. It was incredible.
For sure. Yeah. That was awesome. Ethan, what's your scene?
I am going with a scene pretty early on. I'm going with the flaming boat and the shootout that we get on the boat, because I think if you show somebody that scene, it does a really good job of encompassing how fun this movie is. Action-oriented, practical effects, really fun to watch a boat be consumed by fire and people try to escape. You kind of have your two, you got your modern Indiana Jones type adventures, and then you have your old Western Americans that are on two different sides of what is going to happen. And then you get the guys that come onto the boat that are trying to get that key. And so if you just watch that scene, you have enough context to be like, oh, wow, people are like after this key thing, and they're after it enough to where they want to burn the boat and like stop people from going there. That's very intriguing. What does that key mean? Where are we going? Why are people so bent on getting it? You get some great Brendan Fraser comedy with the bullets coming down the wall and almost getting him in the head. And Rachel Weisz pulls him to the side and they just look at each other. And I was like, that's peak 90s. That's so good. Like, that's great 90s nonverbal comedy. And you get Rachel Weisz freaking out about their kiss. Like, I feel like you just kind of get it all encapsulated in that, where if I were to show that to somebody, I have a strong sense they'd be like, I just want to see the next scene. Can we just like keep going? Because I'm really curious what is going to happen next.
That honestly would have been my pick as well, but I'm just like, I don't know. It's just too fun. It's too cool. Like, I just want someone to be able to see it, organically, but it is really cool. And it's like, I liked the Western aspect of it. Like you said, Ethan, like, the old gunslinger thing, like
window pops open, bad guys there.
Totally. I love that stuff. Yeah,
that's awesome. Mine, I mean, for a similar reason, I like that scene where I guess Imhotep comes back for the first time and screams, and Brendan Fraser screams back at him and then shoots him. And then they run off and they run into the other guards. And then he's just like, "That's fine. I took care of him." And the guy's like, "No, dude, like, no." He's like, "No, that's fine. I got him." You know, it's like, I like his confidence, his false confidence of just like, "No, I took care of it." You know, whatever. Kind of, we get some cool set pieces there, and just to me, it shows like this is kind of whatever version of like a swashbuckling. Like this is like an adventure. This is like what we're gonna get into. You can expect more of this. That was just the scene that kind of like showed me what this whole movie is, just like in one spot.
My favorite line in the movie was when he's fighting right around the time when Rachel Weisz is on the altar or laying down on the altar, and he's like fighting these like undead mummies, and then he like beheads one. It's just like mummies. It's like, yes.
That was so funny.
Instantly regrets it. Yeah, that scream he does, like, that's a hard thing to pull off and sell.
Yeah.
Like, you could look really fucking stupid if you don't nail that. And I was like, oh shit, like, I was actually like intimidated. I was like, oh damn, Brendan, like, got some rage in there, buddy. Like, but if that doesn't work, then that scene really doesn't work. So good job.
For those of you,
well earned, buddy.
For those of you new to the pod, Tyler's something of a scream cop.
Yes.
He'll judge screams. He's a big fan of the Wilhelm scream. Yep.
He's a gatekeeper of screams. So,
No Wilhelm screams. Did you guys notice any? Like, this movie was primed for a Wilhelm. I didn't notice any.
I didn't hear one. You're right. That would have been perfect for it. It would really good.
Especially the boat scene. You would think you would have heard of someone jumping off the boat with the Wilhelm screen, you know?
Yeah. Even just like with a group of 6 of them going at once, like just throw it in there. It could be one of them.
Toss it in.
Be awesome. All right, cool. Well, it's time for us now to head over to our drive-in, sponsored by good friend of the pod, Adam Driver.
I thought you were really going into an ad bit for 1 second, Ben. You had me fooled. That was crazy.
This is an ad bit.
This is sincere. Yeah, this is genuine.
Yeah, we get paid very well for this segment.
Yeah, please don't interrupt me as I'm doing my ad read. Come on, we're trying to get the money. Anyways, our good friend Adam Driver, of Star Wars fame. He runs a drive-in where he shows double features, and every week that we talk about a movie, he allows us to pair a different movie with what we're talking about. So obviously we're talking about 1999's The Mummy, and I'm curious to know what you guys would pair with this. What would go first? What would go second? What's your reasoning behind the pairing? All that kind of stuff. Tyler, I'm throwing it to you first. What's your double feature for our good friend Adam Driver?
I just had sex. I'm about to eat nachos. It's the greatest moment of my life.
We're going to Obvious Town. We're gonna watch Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean,
hell yeah.
I don't know if you can get more on the nose here, but it's just like, I feel, and it's not even so much that like, oh, I want to watch like the better version of this. Like, I think these are equally as good and equally as fun. And I'm curious, like, if I had seen The Mummy back in my younger years, if I would have the same nostalgia for it that I do like something like Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because watching it now, I'm like, I can see why everyone loves this. I like it. It's fun. It's great. But whatever. I personally attach more to something like Raiders. You know what I mean? Not that it's better or whatever. It's just like I have that nostalgic attachment. So we're going to watch Raiders. I don't know which should come first or last. I don't know. We'll just do Raiders last because it's got seniority, I guess.
Cool. I like that. I think it's a good one. Ethan, how about you?
All right, we're going with National Treasure. We're sticking to the treasure hunting theme. There were a lot of moments in The Mummy where I was like, this is just kind of like National Treasure, and it's just kind of sick, and it's just like
steal the Declaration of Independence.
Steal the Declaration of Independence. That's why I'm showing The Mummy first. You get some good 90s comedy, some good 90s, sexual tension. You get Brendan Fraser. You just get a nice introduction into that vibe. And then you watch National Treasure, and you're like, okay, this is the real deal here. Now we're stealing the Declaration of Independence. We're solving riddles and puzzles and ciphers, and we got Harvey Keitel in this movie. I mean, you got the real deal going on in National Treasure, and I feel like The Mummy's a great warm up to that. So we're bringing it back stateside, and we're stealing the Declaration of Independence.
I like it.
I was
for
really
sure,
jealous of this.
Da Vinci Code,
Dude,
So that'd
look,
be your pick, so.
I watched The Da Vinci Code once, and from what I remember, that movie is awesome, but I could be sorely mistaken.
I mean, I think it's fine. I'm curious about the rest of them, but
I almost went with this movie from 2005, same era as National Treasure, called Sahara. I don't know if you guys have heard of this movie.
Yeah.
Steve Zahn, dude.
Steve Zahn, Matthew McConaughey, Penelope Cruz. Another movie that I remember owning the DVD of as a child and just like watching it, and I just like have zero idea what that movie is about, other than like Matthew McConaughey in a desert. But desert themed, I guess, if you wanted to go that route.
Yeah. I think that was the tagline. That was Matthew McConaughey in the desert.
In a desert.
Cool. All right. Yeah, we're in.
I'm in.
Let's do it. $100 million. Here you go. Matt, what's your double feature?
So I'm watching this and I'm just like thinking about like if this movie were made today, who would be playing who would be this cast?
Hard not to.
And it got me thinking about Jungle Cruise. And I feel like you could just swap those casts and you'd have similar movies.
Oh,
Yeah.
And The Rock is kind of Dwayne The Rock Johnson is kind of what Brendan Fraser was at that moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
I know that at this point he's exploded, well beyond. He's transcended Hollywood.
It's funny, they were probably similar sizes at that time too, because I don't think The Rock was as roided up, in the WWF. Like they probably were actually similar sizes, but no longer.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I would show those together. I would show The Mummy first, just so people can appreciate how similar they are.
Yeah.
Afterwards, but yeah, Jungle Cruise.
I like that. Now I want Brendan Fraser in Fast and Furious. Like, let's get him to save franchises. Let's throw him in these movies.
Let's do it.
I mean, I think you guys all did great picks, and it's probably the right way to go with these themes. But I was just stuck on Brendan, and I kind of just wanted to show like two different sides to him, because we do get this like action hero, badass, like sex symbol, all that kind of stuff. And then I wanted to show Blast from the Past, where he's just like the nerdiest, dorkiest, literally homeschooled like kid who doesn't know anything. I think is a set like they think it's the 50s or the 60s, something like that. Like I forget exactly what era they're stuck in, and then they come out in the 90s. And if anything, like I know it's acting and whatever, but like this shows like the two sides of him, I think, really well, and just how talented he is.
Really whale?
Really whale?
Ben liked that one very much.
I'm cutting that from the pod.
That's gone out of here.
No, but crazy. I'm looking at the IMDb now, and these are the two movies I think of his that came out in 99 was The Mummy and Blast from the Past. So let's see what
he had some really good Christopher Walken in Blast from the Past.
And wasn't
prime Walken.
Prime Walken.
And isn't The Mummy technically a blast from the past? Whoa.
Hey, there it is. Look at us. Yeah. That was well done. Good job.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna, you know what? Maybe I'll just do a triple feature, and we'll do Dudley Do Right too. Let's do all Brendan in 99. Let's just have a party. So yeah, that's what I'm going with.
I'm gonna watch Bedazzled.
I still need to see that.
Dude, that's on my watch list. I've been waiting to watch that.
Got to see Bedazzled. It's so
watch
good.
party.
Yeah, I want to see that really bad. So
we're gonna do a Bedazzled watch along.
We should do a Bedazzled watch party.
That'd be fun. Well, let's talk about things we shouldn't do, such as shouldn't have been a remake. That's what we're going to do for our Rushmore Mountain here. As longtime listeners of the pod know, we did cover the Tom Cruise one because I was on a Tom Cruise kick, and I just felt like, yeah, let's watch it. Let's check it out. I have no sentiment for Brendan Fraser, so let's see what this thing's all about. And I think you could argue that didn't need to be done. I mean, that movie destroyed the reboot of the Universal Monsters. Like, it just like shut it all down based on one movie, which is crazy. So I think you could make the argument that it shouldn't have been remade. And I want to talk about other movies that probably shouldn't have been remade. So that's what we're going to do for our Rushmore tonight.
These are OR scrubs. Oh, are they?
Ethan, what's our first entry onto the shouldn't have remade it Rushmore?
Okay, so first entry into this Rushmore is The Karate Kid, 2010, The Karate Kid, right?
Yeah.
We all know the original 1984 Karate Kid with Ralph Macchio. Iconic, great 80s flick. The Karate Kid in 2010 didn't need to be made. Here's the thing. I like Jackie Chan. I like Jaden Smith. I think he makes really good music, and he's one of my favorite artists. So nothing against these guys. The reason it's going on Rushmore is exceptionally personal. I have a big vendetta against this film, and it's because in 2010, I was dating my now wife. We went to go see this film that
Shout
is
out
talking about Molly, 2 hours and 20 minutes long. Let's just put the frame on here.
Yeah.
2 hours and 20 minutes long. We went to go see this movie. We were waiting for this movie to end for probably 90 minutes. We were ready to go to the parking lot and go make out in our car, and this movie would not allow that to happen. And we were too cheap to walk out of the movie because we were in high school. We paid for this movie ticket and we're not leaving this film. Got out at like 11 p.m. and then like we're both, just too tired to make out. And so I'm really sour about the Karate Kid.
She's like trying to make out with you during the movie. You're like, babe, no, the movie's not over yet. Let's wait till it gets over.
I'm getting my money's worth.
No joke. That happened to me in Spider-Man. And I was like literally pushing her away. I'm like, no,
stop.
Spider-Man.
I want to see this.
we were too like embarrassed to make out in a theater because we come from such a small town where it's like, if the wrong person was there, it's like the whole town is going to know. And like, that just wasn't our vibe. So I don't like the Karate Kid because it ceased those things from happening. With my now wife. So very personal vendetta, but you know what? Scrap it. Shouldn't have been made for that reason right there.
How can mirrors be real if our eyes aren't real? Right?
It's also
sexual awakening to sexual closing, I guess.
I guess. It's also too long. Like 2 hours and 20 minutes. Like I would have no desire to watch that film.
Is Jackie Chan, is that him and Jaden Smith, right? Is that this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's only like 16 more minutes than the original, but too long.
Yeah. All right. I like that. That's a good pick. That's just solid. Stop keeping our kids from making out in movie theaters. Come on, you guys. Like,
come on.
Let the kids make out. Tyler, what's your entry here?
I mean, I feel like if I didn't pick Point Break, we would lose subscribers. Like, it's a cliche for me at this point. If I can work it in, I'm going to. We all know how much I love this movie, and it didn't need to be remade. So yeah, there are arguably other movies that like a movie like Old Boy. I can see the list here, so I know if no one's gonna pick that. But like, there's better picks arguably that are like more important, I guess, but not to me. Point Break all the way.
Just the fact that you brought up the remake of Point Break, we probably lost subscribers just for mentioning it.
That's totally fair.
I checked out. I stopped listening.
He was done.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you didn't pick it, I was just going to ADR your voice and just say Point Break. So I'm like, he has to pick this. It's got to be this. Like,
I'm doing a 10-minute monologue about Old Boy.
Like, Point Break. Like, okay, cool. Wow, great. That sounded a lot like Ben, but I guess that's what he said. So, that's a rough remake for sure. And it's like, oh, what if we switch? Maybe the blonde one's the good one this time. It's like, no, we don't need to do this, you guys. Like, really
and I've never even seen it. It could be great for all I know, but
oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
It's, I don't know. It's something, but that was like the biggest takeaway. It's like, oh, they just like the different hair colors are the good guy and bad guy now. Like and then it's like extreme sports now. That's it. That's kind of weird, but it's like a long GoPro commercial, basically. It's kind of all it comes down to. Yeah, exactly. Like whatever. Matt, what's your pick?
Well, mine. Look, mine is actually a movie that I've come around to and I actually like quite a bit. It has been saved retroactively and turned into something beautiful, but it was completely unnecessary. It was not well timed. And I'm going with The Amazing Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I loved 2 out of 3 of the Raimi Spider-Man movies. I also, in a weird way, grew an affinity for the third one, even though it's objectively not great.
Yeah.
But it was too soon. I mean, I feel like we didn't even get a chance to like move on from Tobey before we were kind of forced into the Andrew Garfield, which was a detriment a detriment to that whole creative team and the cast and everything, because they really did a great job. And now going back and with Far From Home and all that, and the way it's all kind of mingled into something really awesome, it's cool to go back and watch those movies. But at the time, it was like, nah, man, this is a foul.
Yeah.
Yeah. Toby's body was still warm, you know, and they're just like, let's remake it. It's like, no, he just died.
Let's call
like,
it.
Don't do this.
Give us time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the first, like watching, I was like, I really like this movie, but why am I even watching it? Like, what are we doing? Like, we're just retelling, like, if they had told like a different story, not gone with the origin story, you know what I mean? It might be would have been different for me, but it's just it's a shame, because you're right, it is a good movie, but like, why?
And I went into it hating for that reason. It's like, I'm gonna like this because I love Spider-Man, and then I'm watching it, I'm like, well, why is Peter Parker so cool? Like, he shouldn't be cool. And now it's like, no, Andrew Garfield's Parker is just cool.
Too good looking.
He's too handsome.
He can dunk.
I'll stand by it.
Peter Parker can't dunk.
Toby's the best Peter Parker. Andrew's the best Spider-Man. And Tom Holland's the best of both. Like, he's a good combo. I agree with you, though. Like, obviously there's the behind the scenes aspect of it where Sony had to put out a movie to keep the rights to Spider-Man. Like, that's why we got it. But like, as viewers, we don't care about that. It just felt so too new. Like, we don't need this yet. Like, Toby's still in our hearts, but like you said, with No Way Home and all that, like, we kind of grew to love and appreciate it. But at the time, it's like, why are we doing this, you guys? Like, this is ridiculous. So my pick, like, it's a classic. We covered this director earlier with Hitchcock. It's Psycho. It's the remake from Gus Van Sant, who we're going to be talking about him a little later on in this round. But it is a literal shot for shot remake of Psycho, but with Vince Vaughn, Julianne Moore, and Hayes. Like, the cast is great. I watched it on a plane once, but it's just like, I mean, it's literally shot for shot. There's not a different angle. There's not a different anything. Like, he just like, all right, this is the shot they did last time, I'm going to do it. Like, it felt like a student project or something like that. Like, oh, let's see if I can make Psycho, you know? But instead it's Gus Van Sant doing it. It's like, I don't know. That's the thing. Like, I didn't hate Vince Vaughn. Like, he was actually like pretty good in that role. Like, he's creepy for sure as Norman Bates. Like, it's not bad, but it's also just like, we had this already, you know. It's like, it's kind of my argument, like with Joker. It's like, we have this already. Like, we don't need this. You
don't
know,
bring
like,
Joker into this.
Any chance I get.
Stop the slander.
It's Bill Hader's roast on Seth Rogen.
We've gone a few episodes without slandering Joker, so we were due.
It had to be on the one that I was on. What do you know?
Right, gotta do it. Why do we need this with this guy? We got this fuck. Yeah.
Jonah, I'm assuming you're here because Seth is. People call me all the time and they say, Hollywood, do we really need two of these guys? But I own you, Jonah. I own you. If I try to buy you on iTunes, it would say, are you sure you want to purchase? Because you already own this.
Yeah, that's just kind of how it, I don't know. Like, it's not bad, but it's just not original. It's like, how good is something if it's just a literal copy? You know, it's just like, if you also got an A on the test, but it's just because you copied what the other person did. It's like, well, then you didn't get the A. You just like, I don't know. It's silly. Yeah. I know I should have looked it up because there's some weird reason he said why he did. I think it was honestly just like to see if I could. Like, I think it's as dumb as that, but that just didn't need to be done whatsoever. Like, the first one is perfect for a reason. We don't need this, but yeah. So anyways, that's my pick, Psycho. Wow. But we'll talk
about in that movie. That's crazy,
right?
Yeah,
that.
It's that's the thing. It's like, it's not bad, but it's like, it's not original. It's like, you didn't do this. Like, someone else did this. So
can I ask a Rushmore side question? Can we make a quick baby Rushmore for Disney live actions that shouldn't have been made? I'm really curious if you guys have a stance on any of this. Like, I love Beauty and the Beast. I think that is the best live action remake that they've done. I tried to watch Aladdin and I shut it off like literally 25 minutes in. I just couldn't do it. So I'm curious if you guys have any strong opinions on Disney live action remakes.
I don't like them or want them, but I don't really. I've also never seen any of them, and I don't really care that much.
You gotta watch Beauty and the Beast.
To me, it's exactly what Ben says about Psycho. It's like, this is the same movie.
Mhm.
Like, this doesn't need to be done. It's kind of more of like a flex on visual effects now, which I think is fine. I think that's cool. And like, honestly, with my kids at least, it's turned their hearts to the cartoons, which is like where my heart's remained the whole time. So it's like, cool. If watching Lion King is going to make them obsessed with the Lion King cartoons, love it. If they're going to come back and watch Beauty and the Beast, which was just like a feat in animation, great. And I enjoy them. Like, I've enjoyed all the ones I've seen. I have not checked out Pinocchio yet. We'll see if I ever do. But
if someone makes us, like,
yeah.
I'll never
but yeah,
volunteer to watch that. But yeah,
I'm fine with them.
That's fair.
I like the Jungle Book one. I thought Cinderella was good too. Beauty and the Beast is good, but I think there's the only ones that I've seen. It feels like they had some misses, but I know they've also made money. I am curious about Lilo and Stitch coming out though. Like, when they announced that Zach Galifianakis is involved, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna check it out then. Like, it seemed like a weird movie to do, but like, it could be fun though. You know, I'm curious to see how they do that. So, the other one I thought of is movies that should never be remade, and that's where I would have been, you know, just a broken record and talked about Ferris Bueller. But that's a whole nother topic that we could do maybe on another one. Mixed Nuts, yeah, can't touch the classic, the masterpiece. Christmas with the Cranks. You try to remake that? Get out of here!
Get out of here!
You can't.
How dare you?
How dare you? Don't even bring that up. Anything else we want to talk about?
I just wanted to say, earlier on in the episode, I challenged us live to try to think of any other 90s adventure movie that we could think of, and all of us drew a blank, and we're not even doing this live, and I was getting live hate tweets for that comment that I didn't, talk about. It's a lesser known movie. It's an indie movie called Jurassic Park from the 90s. It's an adventure,
just little guy.
It's an adventure movie. That? It's got dinos. Shoot, what was it? Is it who's that?
I don't remember.
Anyway,
wasn't it
something?
That was immaculate, Matt. That was some good acting. That was really good.
Also, like, did we forget about Will Smith? Like, did we forget about Men in Black and Independence Day?
And Wild Wild West?
Whoa.
Yeah, Wild Wild West.
There's an argument.
There's sci-fi, right?
We're getting a little more sci-fi action into those, but definitely adventure stories for sure. But yeah, I just wanted to clear the air here. I don't want my inbox, filling up over this.
Yeah. I'm going to have to edit out all the dings that we've been hearing throughout the whole episode of your notifications. It's like, it's been nonstop.
Yeah.
It's been kind of ridiculous. Ethan, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
I think without a doubt, our most, tenured guest. I don't know. Like, you've been here so much. I love it. Whenever you win a draft, good luck, man.
Dude.
God, fuck you. What the hell? That was a low blow.
Wow,
see if that
catching
happens.
strays.
Shot to the shoulder. Oh my God.
I say as someone who's never won a draft. Yes.
Wow. As someone who's just like, I'm not going to do this draft because I'm the watcher. I can't do this.
I'm just going to take myself out of this. Thanks for coming on. Do you want to let people know again where they can find you?
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at Ethan Simi. I tweet about movies. I feel like I'm pretty funny, but maybe I'm not. You can also find Ben and I's podcast at 24 Minutes of 824. We're on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Putting out clips of the pod all the time. Go follow us and subscribe and listen to the pod.
Do it up.
All those things.
Yeah, do it all. Hang out with us next week. As I mentioned, Gus Van Sant, we're going to be digging into Matt's. How have you not seen this movie? A little film called Good Will Hunting.
How have you not seen that?
So excited.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I'm excited to talk about this movie. So
I might just rewatch it in my free time just so I could pretend that I'm playing along with you guys. I'm due for a rewatch.
And then just text him next Monday at the same time. Be like, how have you not seen this? I don't get it. Just like you can start live tweeting him.
Live tweeting actually happening right now.
But join us next week as we talk about Good Will Hunting. See you then.
Bye,
everyone.
See you.
Bye.
Seth Rogen. You're welcome, you Harry Canuck. You are welcome. I, Hollywood, made the world accept you. I put you on a movie poster and I said, deal with it. And then I put Barbra Streisand on that poster and the world said, no. The guilt trip. Listen, if I wanted to watch two ugly Jews weaving through traffic, I'd watch Seinfeld's web series.